Hello and welcome back to the RPA Production Ready Essentials training. Today we'll continue our lesson on UI Explorer by discussing the functionality of Property Explorer panel and taking a look at an example of when it is useful. Let's begin. A part of UI Explorer that is often overlooked is the Property Explorer panel. The Property Explorer panel displays all the available attributes of the currently selected element. We'll go to the RPA Challenge website to indicate a UI element, such as the phone number label. After making the selection, we can see that all the available attributes of the element are listed here. The panel on the right side of the screen only displays the selected attributes, but the Property Explorer section shows all the possible attributes of the selector corresponding to the UI element we selected, including inner HTML, inner text, the position and role, and so on. In some cases, the access to the attributes here can turn out to be very useful. In UiPath Studio, there are multiple activities that use selector attributes. For example, the getAttribute activity retrieves the value of a specific attribute, which can help us build the subsequent workflow logic. In web applications, we can also set the value of an attribute. Now that can be useful in cases such as attended automation. Let's consider the example of the RPA Challenge website. Using the setWebAttribute activity, we could disable the Submit button or change the text it displays to guide the users throughout their interaction with the robot. Let's build an example workflow that includes the WaitAttribute activity. When we use it, the robot pauses the execution until an attribute has a specific value. Let's indicate the Start button. Here is the generated selector, which is valid and reliable. It does not use the AA_name attribute, which is fine. As before, the Property Explorer window displays all the available attributes such as type, visibility, whether the element has focus or is in the foreground, and so on. Let's go back to the website. When we click the Start button, the value changes to round 1. Our selector is still valid and indicates the previously selected button when we highlight the element. When we indicate the element again, we can notice that the value of the AA_name attribute was updated in the Property Editor panel, the same as the inner HTML and the inner text. Let's say that we want an attended robot to wait until the label of the button changes to round 1, and then to highlight the button. Let's refresh the page. Next, we'll search for the Find Element activity and indicate the Start button again. The generated selector is a reliable one. We'll save the identified element in a new variable called button. We'll then proceed by adding a WaitAttribute activity to the Designer panel. The input element is the variable that we have just created. The attribute list was automatically compiled, so we can simply select the one that we want. Next, we'll type round 1. The activity has a 30-second timeout, so if the element is not identified within that time frame, an exception is thrown. Let's add a write_line activity to showcase when the robot is waiting during the execution. Let's type waiting for button press. Next, we'll use a highlight activity and provide the button variable in the element field. OK, now when we run the workflow, we can see that the outline panel displays the text. We'll go to the RPA Challenge webpage and click Start. The text changed, so the button was highlighted and the execution stopped. This approach is useful in automation scenarios where we need to check the state of certain UI elements or retrieve information about them. And that was all for today. Thank you for watching.